alternating the thoughtful task of writing or photography with the mindless work of laundry or dishwashing will give you breaks you need for new ideas and insights to occur. Chuck Palahniuk actually wrote Fight Club while he was working as a diesel mechanic. When he was under the truck with his wrench, he would have post-it notes under there and he would write ideas and thoughts that he had about the book. So what I've been trying to do recently is just be bored. Not instantly go to Instagram, instantly go to Twitter when I'm bored, sit there with my ideas, sit there, maybe grab a photo book, look at that, maybe pop on a movie to get inspiration, something that demands my attention for longer than 0.5 seconds. With my newfound inspiration due to Mr. Chuck, I wanted to go out to Redbud, Illinois. And I've been there a couple times. I took these 2 photos there. Really great town, but I've never really got a portrait of anyone out there. So I drove the 40 minutes out there, and when I got there, I found this truck that was situated perfectly. It could not have been any better. It was a blue truck. There was a mobile home. And then there was a giant grain bin in the back, the grain bin I photographed before. It just looms over the town like a giant skyscraper of the Midwest. And at this point, it was a couple hours before sunset, so I figured I'll just wait around a little bit until the light gets better, no big deal. So I drive around, I park, I'm playing on my phone, and I'm getting this anxiety. And I keep thinking back to the last video that I posted about Jeremy and him talking about courage, and how he sees people settling for photos and not getting the photo that they want. And I'm like, I need to be courageous. I need to take his words and put them into action. And instead, I find myself driving around in loops because I can't knock on the door of this house. And I literally drive around for probably an hour, and I just cannot get out of my car to knock on the door. And I'm sure you guys have had this feeling before where you want to photograph something, but you're just riddled with anxiety. And maybe you haven't, so that's a good thing, but I finally got the nerve to get out of my car and knock on the door. The sun was pretty much setting very quickly, and I was running out of light, and I knocked very faintly on the door as if I didn't want them to hear me, and I just wanted to do it and run back to my car. I waited for probably 5 seconds, nobody answered, and I did just that. And I was actually driving back. I knew that I was going to go home, and I knew that I was going to be upset that I didn't get the photo and that it took me so long to knock on the door. As I was about to cross the bridge over into St. Louis, I noticed that the sun was actually getting pretty nice. So instead of taking a left to St. Louis, I took a right to Dubo. And I did one quick lap around the town, and as I was about to leave, I saw an open garage door. And there was 2 people in there, and there was a woman on the outside with 2 kids. And without even thinking, I just fucking parked my car. I gave myself no time to be anxious. And I just went straight up to him. I did the little wave and the, how you doing? Turns out that Tom, the owner of the cars, he was working on this specific car. I told him about the project, and he immediately rejected me. And I was a little caught off guard by how quickly it came, but I was like, hey, if he doesn't want it, that's cool. But I stepped back a little bit, and I was talking with the woman who turned out to be just a friend who goes to church with Tom, and her kids like to come and play with the cars and see the cars and stuff. So Tom turns around and asks me again about the project, and I'm just like, I told him about it, and he's like, well, you can take a picture of my little boy here. He likes to work on cars with me. His name's Caden, but he calls him Opie from the Andy Griffith Show. So I said, cool. I set up Caden for a portrait, and I ended up taking this one. He was a little anxious about everything, and he was a little standoffish, but I quite liked this photo with his hands in his pockets and the car lit in the background and the nice light that the sunset was giving. And at that point, Tom actually pulled the car out, and I actually asked him if Caden could sit on the hood. And this portrait was a little bit trickier because the light was going down. It was going to be a 1-second exposure. I was metering just directly on Caden's feet with the incident light meter, but it was going to be 1 second, so I made sure to tell him, I was like, don't move. We're going to get this photo. If you blink, if you flinch, and it probably made him a little bit more stiff than I would like, but I ended up getting this photo. And this one turned out to be my favorite from this interaction just because the light in the background, the way that he's sitting, it's something a little bit different with him sitting on the hood of the car. And after I got that photo, I was completely elated, and I had forgotten about the whole situation at Redbud, and it kind of made the whole trip worth it.
And that was Andy Warhol's mantra. Whether he got good reviews or bad reviews, he would think, so what? It doesn't change anything. So what? He just kind of lived in this sort of ongoing minimizing or negation of either praise or damnation. How does that change anything? It doesn't. And so he was always sort of allowed himself to be drawn toward the thing, the shiny idea, the bright thing that drew him, rather than be a reaction to his past or a reaction to his present circumstances of whether or not people were praising him or not praising him. This constant philosophy of so what.
And the next day, I wanted to go out to Redbud again to try to get a photo of that truck. And I go out there, and the sun's not quite right yet, so I parked my car. I wanted to get a picture of this water tower that says Redbud on there. I've gotten a picture of it before, but in black and white. And this kid by the name of Travis walks out. Probably 22, 23, wearing boots, jeans, looks like he just got back from work. And immediately I just go up and tell him about the project. So the light was going to be good, and I could just take my time. And I took this first portrait. I thought about stopping down the lens. I know you guys probably think that I can only shoot wide open, but I can stop down the lens. But this one, I think, just lended itself to being shot wide open. The way that he's sitting on the edge of the tailgate, and he actually asked if he could smoke a cigarette during this portrait, and I said, of course, it will add to the character of the photo. But I moved in for a second portrait, and this one, I just wanted his body to kind of fill the frame even more, and I actually got down a little bit more, kind of looking up. And right before I took this one, a couple of girls walked by, and he said to me, they're going to think that I'm a model, and he laughed, and that's why you can kind of see the smirk on his face. Don't like this one as much as the other one. I don't know if it's just because he's smiling and looking at the camera. It's not as natural, but overall, not a terrible photo. So I moved in even closer for the next one, and at this point, I told him to set his arms up on the truck bed. And it was more so just to get a different position, but also to keep him steady for the portrait in general, because it was going to be, again, wide open, and people cannot move that much when you're focusing. And he was actually just sitting there and looking off into the distance. And a lot of people might think, how do you pose people? How do you get people into these expressions? And a lot of it is just waiting, setting up the camera, taking peeks at what they're doing, taking peeks about how they look. And he just had this expression on his face that I really liked. And I said, whatever you're doing right now, just keep doing that. Keep looking off into the distance. And then I took this photo. And this probably turned out to be my favorite headshot. Just the way that he looks, the way that the light is, the color in the background. Everything just kind of came together. And it's a portrait that I'm extremely proud of. And then I moved in a little bit more, and I wanted to get one of him just looking right at the camera a little bit closer. And again, this turned out to be a pretty good portrait, but when you compare the two side by side, I think the one of him looking off has a little bit more emotion and a little bit more feeling to it. So by that time, the sun was down and I could not get a picture of the truck again. So I go back one more time to Redbud, drive 40 minutes out there. I gave myself 0 time, so as soon as I get out there, I was ready to go. I knocked on the door of the house. Jesse answers the door. I tell him about the project. He says, I don't know if I'd be up for a portrait, but you can take a picture of the truck. So I set everything up. I tell him to move the truck back to where it was. It's sitting in front of the mobile home. The grain bin is in the background. It's perfect. And he says that he still doesn't want his portrait taken. And at this point, I'm just like, that's fine. I'm not going to try to pressure him into standing in front of his truck. But I said, maybe to get a human element to this, maybe you can just have your back to me and have your arms up on the truck, like looking into the truck bed. And this is something that I want to put into more pictures later on. When people say that they don't want their photo taken, maybe just get them in the photo some way to bring a human element to it. And I really liked the way that this one turned out. It kind of fully encompasses everything that I have been trying to get within the project: cars, people, location, lighting, scenery. These are the locations that I like. These are the people that I like to photograph. These are the people that resonate with me the most. I like rural places. I like Illinois. I like these small farm towns. I grew up in a rural place. I grew up with horses in a barn, and my dad worked outside all the time. Like, these are the types of people that I like to photograph because I feel sometimes like they are unnoticed or their hard work goes unnoticed. And when Travis walked out of the liquor store, the thing I like the most about any compliment that I get on a photograph or a portrait, the one that I like the most is a portrait of either an older person or an older gentleman or an average looking person like myself or some guy that you might see on the street. And when someone says that's a beautiful portrait, that means the world to me, because it means that I captured this person. They're being seen in this photo, and not only are they being seen, but they're being seen as beautiful. And that's what I'm just trying to do with my work. That's what I'm trying to do with portraits and this project. That's pretty much all I have to say. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and thank you again for the wonderful feedback on the last video. For the 3,000 new people that subscribed to me since then, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope I didn't let you down, and I hope you got something out of it. And if you didn't, just unsubscribe, I guess, and my numbers will go plummet down to the bottom of the barrel. So if you guys have any questions about anything, let me know. I look forward to making the next one, and I'll see you then.
They don't have a big, what they call meta-narrative story. They don't have a big story like Christianity was a big story. So your job, I would say, is to come up with a story like that makes all of the things we worry about so much right now completely beside the point. That makes all the problems we have right now completely negligible, because they won't even be, we won't even think about them, because your story will be so incredible. I don't know what that story is, but that's why, if I can make my case, somebody's going to come up with that story. The end.
And lastly, a thank you to the sponsor of this video, Squarespace. I've used Squarespace for 3 years now, and it's one of the best investments I've ever made. I am able to easily share my work with their customizable galleries, and I can sell prints and easily get paid with their simple to use online shop. I can also use their third-party extensions to even ship those prints if I feel so inclined. If you want to support the channel as well as get a small discount, go to squarespace.com/BrianBurks and use the code BrianBurks for 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain.